Born in Asheville, North Carolina in 1922, Floyd McKissick Sr. became one of 4 black men to be the first African Americans to gain admittance to UNC Chapel Hill's School of Law. He did so after joining a successful lawsuit against UNC in 1951. McKissick served as the National Executive Director of the Congress on Racial Equality in the 1960s. And in the 1970s, he broke ground on a planned community on 1,800 acres of land in rural eastern North Carolina, which he named Soul City. McKissick lived in Soul City until his death in 1991.
Black people want to have the choice to live where they want to.
A Negro leader today announced plans for creation of a black-built, black-owned town to be called Soul City in North Carolina.
In this new town, persons will be able to control their own destinies.
Seeing this whole thing being transformed was the most liberating thing I've ever experienced in my lifetime.
Affordable housing, people were going to get jobs. That's what made sense back then. We thought we had a very good plan in place. And the question then was how we could execute any of it. Even as President Nixon on down were trying to make a case that they were very supportive. On the ground, we didn't have the dollars.
There was a discomfort level for many people who were not African American. I mean, let's be real. The boss is a black guy.
Senator Helms responded saying, one of my first acts is going to be to try to close you down.
I can't help to think that that's politically motivated and possibly racially motivated.
We're here. We did it. Stop talking about it. This is going to work. The city's coming.
In this new town, persons will be able to control their own destinies.
Floyd McKissick left Harlem to create his vision of black power in the rural South.
Affordable housing, health care, people were going to get jobs. We thought we had a very good plan in place. The question then was how we could execute any of it.
Building is empowering. I want to be a part of building something new. That was the dream for me, to be a piece of this, because we wanted to be transformed.
But not everyone supported the radical project.
Senator Helms responded, one of my first acts is going to be to try to close you down.
I mean, let's be real. The boss is a black guy.
There are some folk who don't believe that a black man could do it or should be doing it.
For thousands of years, people have traveled through Warren County on the ancient beaten road called the Indian Trading Path. This road, which bisected the county and state of North Carolina from northeast to southwest, was a well-worn and marked footpath for trade, predecessor to the modern paved Interstate 85 that somewhat follows the old trail today. I think that the interesting thing is that there were many paths in a way, and this is what is really known as the Great Trading Path, in that it was heavily used into the historic period. And I think that it helped open up not only North Carolina, the central part of North Carolina, to settlement, but it helped open up the entire country along the same lines. By the 1670s, European traders carried gunpowder, shotgun guns, iron tools and kettles, blankets, and brass, copper, and glass beads into the wilderness of North Carolina, with horse trains numbering into the hundreds, each packed with goods. All that remains of the ancient trail are the modern highways and many historical markers, including the marker on US 1 in Norlina, erected in 1941 to preserve the memory of the ancient Indian trading path.
Rail transportation began in Warren County in 1840 upon the completion of the Raleigh and Gaston Railroad. Warrenton was a proposed location for the railroad, but the townspeople rejected it, and the reason it was chosen as a possible location is because it was the largest town between Raleigh and Gaston. Later, the townspeople regretted their decision, and a short line railroad was put between Warren Plains and Warrenton, and it was 3 miles long, and it was supposedly the shortest full-gauge railroad in the world. Upon the completion of the Raleigh and Gaston Railroad, in the next few decades, train depots were put in Macon, Warren Plains, Ridgeway, and Manson.
Well, Dr. Hawkins, after he graduated from medical school in 1845, purchased a tract of land and started building his estate in Ridgeway, adjacent to the railroad tracks, because he saw the importance of the railroad and knew that he wanted to be part of it, and eventually he did become a very important part of it.
First members of the train was when I was going to Ridgeway School, and they had the first steam engine came through, and the school closed and took all us up to the railroad, to the highway, so we could see the train go through. And that little train, at that time, we could catch it and go to Manson, wherever, and stop anywhere, just like a bus.
My father was a sharecropper. And when they started the railroad through Warren County through North Carolina, they got jobs. My father quit work on the farm at age 12 and started working for the Seaboard Railway. He had 5 sons altogether, and all 5 sons worked for the railway. One was an engineer, one was a cook, a chef, and 2 were bridgemen. And they all retired except one uncle, the one is the chef.
Rapidly, North Carolina began to grow. New commercial businesses popped up near the railroad line, and in 1913 the town was incorporated. In the 1920s, US 1 was completed through Warren County, and this put a new boom into North Carolina area, because now commercial businesses were built along the new highway of US 1, along with a new hotel. The railroad continued to boom in North Carolina until after World War II. By World War II, North Carolina was a very busy depot because there was dozens of troop trains going through the town every day. At this time, North Carolina had a freight yard, switcher engines, and a round table. After World War II, the railroads all over the country began to decline, including the ones going through North Carolina. By the 1950s, North Carolina has a devastating blow because the switching yard is changed from North Carolina to Raleigh.
I was coming from California in '47, and from California to Chicago, it was integrated. Then when we got to Chicago, we saw a little change. When we got to Washington, D.C., it was a total change. Absolutely. And when we got to Washington, the only thing the conductor would say, okay, look at your ticket. He said, track 1, car 5. If a white person come up, he said, track 1, car 6, or something like that.
Of course, we sat generally one car behind the mail car, and we caught all the soot and the debris from the engine. That's when they had the coal-fired engine.
The conductor, which always was white, he would get out with a stool at the white car. The porter would get out with a stool where the black people live. And then the conductor would get the tickets in the white car, and then the porter would come in and say, get your tickets ready, get your tickets ready. And then the conductor would come through the black car.
In the 1960s, North Carolina takes a devastating blow because Interstate 85 is completed. This means the heavy volume of traffic that was on US 1 was diverted to the new interstate, so commercial businesses along that highway started a slow decline, including the service stations, hotel, and other commercial businesses.
The black man thought that he could go to the city and would be accepted with open arms because the slogan has been, "Go north." This is where the opportunities were. So he left the farming area and he went north, and he found that if he went there in great numbers, that the white people really didn't want it. And actually the white people moved out to the suburbs, and now the cities have become all black. And so black people have been running and chasing whites from one locality to the other. I think it's time that we quit chasing whites, quit trying to be like whites, come right back to the land where we started from and really start building and build an economy. We can build an economy on this land.
It looks as if it's business as usual in the Old South. A plantation, a decaying old mansion, harvesting time in the tobacco fields. But now there's a difference. Amid these reminders of another age, there is a drastic change underway on this land. This is to be the site of a bold new experiment. On this property, formerly a plantation, a new city will rise. A city inspired and controlled by blacks. It is Soul City, situated in Warren County, North Carolina. The guiding light behind the project is Floyd McKissick, well known nationally for his years of struggle in the civil rights movement.
As far as you can see around here, we own. This is where Soul City will rise into its own. Right now, we got a population of 56 people. We started off in January with 1. In about 17 years, 50,000 people will live in this town, and we'll have industry, medical services. We'll have anything comparable to what other cities have without the manifest problems that the major metropolitan areas have today. The truth of the matter is the problem starts here, and the problem is merely identified by a process of migration to the big urban centers in New York, Boston, Chicago, and etc. But this is the highest point of migration in North Carolina to the city. And until we say, look, we're going to start solving the problem here, then we'll never solve the problem in the cities.
In December of 1969, Floyd McKissick Sr., former national civil rights leader and attorney, bought over 5,000 acres of land for Soul City, of which he became the founder and developer. Soul City, funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, was designed to promote self-help, empowerment, and community economic development. Its centralized location was ideal, halfway between New York and Atlanta, only a couple of miles from Interstate 85, and the Seaboard Coastline Railroad ran through the property. The area currently houses the largest employer in Warren County.